Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Falcon Focus podcast. We are live on Tuesdays from 9:30 to 10. Live on Facebook Live. We are archived on cuwfalcons.com. You can download the audio thanks to Podbean and listen via iTunes as we focus on Falcon athletics. My name is Menzl. We have a triple header of guests. Jake Jurss, the senior guard from the men's basketball squad, kind enough to join us as they're coming off a second consecutive conference victory on Saturday. Their home opener, a win against Wisconsin Lutheran. We'll be joined by the VP of Student Life, Steve Taylor, and men's volleyball head coach, Curtis Madson. And Jake, you're our first guest, and I want to get right into the fact that this is your senior year. Can you believe this is already your final go-around?
Yeah, it's crazy. It feels like just yesterday, getting on campus as a freshman, kind of figuring out the basketball stuff, the school stuff. Gonna be graduating in May, so that'll be weird, getting a real job and everything. But last year, competitive basketball playing at least probably, and it's really flown by.
I guess to this point, and hopefully more memories will be made in the coming months, but what are some of maybe your favorite stories or memories so far from your first three collegiate seasons?
Yeah, first year I didn't play too much. We had some seniors that were ahead of me. There was Josh Howe and Noah Gussie were in the same boat. We all three of us are still playing. We really worked hard to get to this point. Sophomore year we started playing a little bit more. I'd say the biggest memories would be playing the conference tournament. We made it to the conference championship as a sophomore, and then lost in the semifinals last year. So those are some of the big memories. CIT is always a big memory as well. Just getting to know the guys. Been through a lot of good teammates, a lot of good friends.
You mentioned waiting your turn. You know, when you came in as a freshman, waiting your turn as a couple of seniors ahead of you. Is that an adjustment to make? You know, you go from high school being the guy your senior year to then all of a sudden kind of waiting your turn and trying to work your way into the rotation? Yeah,
I mean, it's college basketball, so everybody here probably was one of the best players on their high school team. I came from a smaller school, so I took a lot of the shots. I was the leader of the team. Played almost every minute my whole senior year. It was a big adjustment. I've never really sat on the bench, come off the bench, even when I did play a little bit my freshman year. So it was a big adjustment coming in and waiting my turn as the seniors. They were good and they taught us a lot. Took me a little bit to adjust to college basketball, but after a year of waiting, jumped right in, and me and Noah and Josh Howe, just off of a senior group, Andrew Fratsky as well. He played a little more as a freshman, but we've really grown the program, I think, and we've been pretty successful.
By your sophomore year, you were a regular starter. Have you seen your role change over the last 3+ seasons? Do you feel your role has changed on this team?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Every year I've played, sophomore through this year, I felt a little bit different with my role. Sophomore year we had Eric Kittle, so that was a lot different, where he was bringing the ball up, and my job was primarily to score the ball and shoot it, and that was basically what I did. Junior year, he's gone. Maybe a little more leadership role that I had to take on, and bringing the ball up a little bit. As we were working through some point guards, lineup things, we were trying different things. So there was a little trial in that year, and now this year, I feel like it's another different role as I'm a leader, and I do have to score, but we've got three really good scorers along with me that are scoring the ball really well. And Jordan and Josh Howe and Andrew Fratsky's playing at a really high level right now, and then we've got pieces all over the board where we're playing a lot of guys, so it's a lot different this year.
Yeah, right now through 4 games, we're averaging close to 10 points, 4 assists, good for about a steal or two per contest. The team sits with 2 victories and a couple of defeats. Do you like the progress this team's making? Okay, hit a couple of great non-conference tests against 2 top 25 teams, but then here in conference play, you guys are finding a way to get the job done.
So we played, started off the season, we had an exhibition game against Milwaukee, which was really good for us. We were leading at the half. Felt like we could have done a little more in the second half. We had a bad run there, but then we start off with number 10 Platteville and number 24 Whitewater. Our coach believes in us. He thinks we can take those teams on and beat them. Again, we didn't play our best against Platteville, but came out at Whitewater. We were up at the half. Another second half slippage, so we were 0-2 to start off the season. So it was a Two big games coming up with Chicago and Wisconsin Lutheran. We needed to get those. We knew we were better than 0-2. We needed to get those done.
And now upcoming for the Falcon men's basketball squad, 3 consecutive games away from home, including a big one that starts tomorrow night at Aurora, the reigning regular season and tournament champions. I do want to go back, though, in time. And you talked about, you played at a smaller school at Sheboygan Lutheran, yet you look at a program like that from a basketball standpoint, you guys were a powerhouse. Your freshman year, bringing home a Division V state championship. First of all, how special was that team?
That team was really special. Obviously, Sam Decker was on that team as a senior. Had a really good college career at Wisconsin. Now he's playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's hurt right now, but hopefully he gets back. That was a really good group of guys. We all really liked each other. It was a really fun year. A lot of good experiences, and obviously winning a gold ball is awesome. And not getting another one, I mean, it really shows you how hard you need to work for a championship and what you need to do to get there.
And Sam Decker in that championship game that year, all he had was 40 points, 13 rebounds in the game-winning 3-point field goal. What was it like to have him on your team, that kind of a caliber, that kind of a talent? Did you realize he had the ability to be something beyond just a college athlete? He could be an NBA prospect?
Yeah, I mean, after his sophomore year, he committed to Wisconsin, and after that, you kind of thought he was going to be an NBA player. He was a really good guy. He wasn't. He could have been above us all. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was Division I. We weren't going D1. All of the rest of our teammates. So it was really cool playing with him and getting to know him personally. He still jokes around with us. He keeps in contact with us a little bit. Group chat stuff. When he comes back to Sheboygan Lutheran, he'll always talk to us. So that's really nice for a big NBA guy to talk to us still. He's a really good guy.
So did you become like a Cavalier fan for the time being, or at least like a side Cavalier fan because of Sam? Do you kind of follow his teams now?
So, I mean, I'm not even a Wisconsin Badger fan. So,
okay.
I mean, even that, I would always cheer for Sam, but I was always, I don't know if I want to cheer for the Badgers. But
who's your
team? I like, if Division I, obviously Concordia's first, but then
yep.
Marquette. So that was always tough because the in-state rivalry. But, always cheering for Sam. I was at the national championship when he was there, so that was really cool to see him play at the national championship as well. Now, following him around, Clippers, now Rockets, Clippers, now Cavs. So, follow him a little bit.
Well, you mentioned you didn't win another golden ball, but you did another opportunity to play at State your junior year in 2014. It was a game in which you guys lost in the semis against Green Bay NEW Lutheran. You had 20 points in that contest. Across the way, you had Noah Gussie playing for Green Bay NEW Lutheran. A, did you know that he would be a future Falcon with you? And B, does he kind of rib you every now and then? Does he remind you of what happened back in 2014?
Noah's been my roommate since freshman year as well, so he does let me know that he beat me that game. I beat Green Bay NEW my freshman year, didn't beat him again until my senior year. And Noah was hurt that game, so he lets me know that I've never beat him in a high school contest. Noah lets me know about it, but that was a fun game as well. I know a lot of the Green Bay NEW guys, and got to know Noah pretty well over those times. And then senior year, I got to know him pretty well. We started talking, and then obviously we both ended up here. So he's a great friend, and although I never got to beat him in high school, I'm glad he's on my team now.
And by your senior year, you got the opportunity then to play alongside your brother Jared, who was a 1,000-point scorer in his time at Sheboygan Lutheran, now a freshman with the Falcons. On the opportunity is that not only to play with him at the high school level, but now getting the opportunity to be on the same college team.
Yeah, I mean, as a high school senior and getting to play with your brother as a freshman, that's a really cool experience. I never thought I'd be able to play with him at college as well. It's really awesome. When he was going through his recruiting process, I don't know how much of a factor I was into playing to come into Concordia, but I'm really glad he was. I mean, I told him I'd love to play with him, but it was ultimately his decision. So when he decided to come to Concordia, I was really excited about that, getting to play with him. He's a really good passer, really good player. He's going to be really good for Concordia for the years to come as well. But he's playing really good as a freshman, which isn't always easy to do. He's fitting in well with us.
I was going to ask you, you talk about he's a very good player. What kind of a player, how would you describe him as a basketball player? He
sees the floor better than most guys. He's always looking for other guys. He doesn't always care if he's going to score. He's big competitor. He hates losing. Sometimes a little too much. He really gets on himself. He expects perfection out of himself and his teammates, and he really works hard to do that. He wants to get 10 assists over 10 points all day.
Well, and it's funny because, okay, I have to imagine it's pretty competitive growing up in the Jurss household. You have another brother and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
How competitive did things get? We guys compete about everything? Was it just, hey, basketball, this or that, sport-wise?
I'm sure my sister is really happy that you mentioned her because she always feels like she's forgotten being the one girl. But, yeah, between the three boys, it was really competitive. My brother's still in high school at Sheboygan Lutheran, ranked number 1 in D5 right now, so that's pretty fun to watch and follow them as well. He's really good defender and player there. But us three would always work out together, play against each other. Everything we did was a competition. So
I guess finally to wrap it all up, as you look ahead, coming back to the Concordia route of things, okay, it's the final week really of the first semester, exams just around the corner. What is this time like for a student athlete as you not only juggle basketball but also the academic side, and you're preparing to wrap it all up this first semester?
Yeah, a lot of tests, a lot of projects going on right now, so got to find time to do that. But also, we're watching film, we're lifting, we're getting shots up outside of practice, and then we got 2 hours of practice a night. It is a lot of work, but it's worth it. We all really like being around each other, so the team does get together a lot of the time. We hang out together. It's a really, really great team, so even though that we got a lot going on in school, we find time to get our basketball stuff done too. On
top of the fact you now begin a 3-game road swing starting tomorrow at Aurora. Jake, thanks a lot for your time. Best of luck.
Thanks.
More of the Falcon Focus podcast coming up. We'll be joined by the VP of Student Life, Steve Taylor.
Being a part of the different activities and organizations that I've been a part of, I'm actually able to see myself where I'm like, hey, I actually can make a change. I'm one person that can make a difference.
Division III has helped me to develop teamwork skills, critical thinking skills, time management skills.
It's not just about basketball, or it's not just about school, it's about developing yourself as a person altogether.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast, and being joined by the VP of Student Life, Steve Taylor, kind enough to join us here on this Tuesday morning. And you often see that title, VP of Student Life. You may not always know what that means, so when somebody hears VP of Student Life, what does that entail?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here, Matt. It's a pleasure to be part of your podcast today. So as a VP of Student Life at Concordia, I have the responsibility of overseeing many things on campus, including athletics, other things that affect student life on campus, including our auxiliary services with our food service contract, residence life, dean of students, security, counseling, and items of that nature.
You mentioned athletics, and I was told that athletics directly report to you. What does that mean?
Well, it can mean a lot of different things, but fortunately we have excellent leadership in athletics. Dr. Rob Barnhill, our athletic director, is an outstanding athletic director. What it means, and this is really for all the pieces, is I get involved when there's typically two things happen. There's a big problem or we need money. So, but other than that, I'm able to be a fan at most events or engage in that way. But in some cases, institutions like ours, the vice president, where maybe there's not good leadership in athletics, has to get much more involved day to day. For me, fortunately, I don't. I can look at big picture things and really focus on things I want to and not things I have to.
I'm glad you brought up the money aspect of things, because also you serve on the NCAA committee that for Division III and financial aid. How does one get selected, or how do you go about becoming part of that committee? What are some of the issues right now you guys are dealing with?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm very proud to be at an institution who's a member of the NCAA Division III. I might be a little biased, but I think it's the best division of all of them in the NCAA. And the NCAA is a member organization, so members of the NCAA serve the organization in leadership capacities. And prior to being the VP of Student Life, I was the Director of Financial Aid at Concordia for about a decade. And so when I got into this role, I was nominated by Rob Barnhill to serve in that committee and was selected by the NCAA. And it's a 4-year commitment. And so twice a year we go down and meet in Indiana at the NCAA facility there. And what we do as a committee is we oversee the financial aid section, or Chapter 15 of the NCAA Rule Manual, which basically means, in a nutshell, Division III athletes get no financial aid preference for being an athlete. So we both manage the policy of the NCAA, but also we're the committee that reviews infractions of the NCAA Chapter 15.
You bring up financial aid, and that's kind of your background here at Concordia prior to becoming the VP of Student Life, isn't it?
That's right. Yep. So, like I said, for 15 years I was the director of financial aid, and it did a lot of things. It really showed me where students are trying to come to Concordia, and whether a student athlete or not student athlete, is that college is not cheap, and students make great sacrifices to attend here, amongst other places too. And then on top of that, they're choosing to be student athletes. And I have the most admiration and respect for our students. You're just talking to Jake Jurss, amongst others, that are balancing things well. They're not getting paid to be here. They don't have a big scholarship to play basketball, but they're doing it for the love of Concordia and for the love of the sport. And it's pretty remarkable.
Now, you were a Concordia student.
Yeah.
You know, you look back, did you ever think you'd still be sitting here, say, a couple of decades later? I mean, was that kind of the...
No.
Yeah. I guess, what was the dream, coming out of Concordia?
Yeah.
What was kind of the aspirations?
Yeah, so, thanks for asking. I had a conversation today with an alumnus over the phone that was a couple years older than me, and we both had those conversations of what Concordia gave to us. I came to Concordia in the early 90s. I was from Michigan. I wanted to play football. I had success in high school, and I was going to be a high school social studies teacher and coach football and go back to my hometown. And it's only by the grace of God that I'm here, and I could never have picked this path, and it kind of picked me. I'm thankful for where I am and how I got here.
Are there still teachers or professors you had as a student that are still here in some capacity? Is that a little different now that instead of being a student, you're now peers?
I've been doing this for a long time, so not as much anymore.
Okay.
But certainly from early on there was some of that. So Dr. Cario, who's our provost, was my academic advisor. I had Professor Ferry as an instructor. Dr. Ferguson as an instructor. So there's a handful left. Not a whole lot, but there's a few.
How was Dr. Ferry as an instructor?
Oh, he's fantastic. I mean, if you ever listened to him speak or saw his chapel message, think about getting that 3 times a week. It was just amazing. The content was a little difficult. It was a history of Christianity, but he made it very interesting. He was an excellent instructor.
You look from an athletic standpoint, we can talk all we want about it, facilities, but how about even the fact that, you mentioned NCAA Division III. I mean, you're going back NAIA now to NCAA D3, and just the transition that was.
Yeah, so I came here as a student athlete, and I participated on the football team for 3 years, and during those 3 years we transitioned from NAIA to D3. And I think as a student athlete, we didn't quite understand what that meant or what impact there was. Certainly as an administrator, you see the impact. And the landscape that changed. Back in the 80s, there was many more NAIA schools in the state, and now, I'm not sure if is there one in the state of Wisconsin? I'm not sure if there is one.
Cardinal Stritch.
Oh, that's right. Other than Cardinal Stritch, but the NAC is full of Wisconsin schools that are NCAA Division III. All the UW schools are Division III. So we've transitioned into a really an NCAA state.
You bring up football, and you were part of the football team from 1994 through 1996, and had some great years. Some competitive teams, including a 7-2 squad that went 4-1 in conference play back in 1995. And when you think back to your football playing days, maybe what stories, what memories come to mind?
Well, I remember, everyone's experience when they come to college and playing college is different. And some of us, it's a transition period, which is preparing us for our next step. And for me, it was that. Played with some great people, some excellent athletes, and it's also where you kind of learn your limitations. There's a lot of great high school athletes, and there's a lot fewer great college athletes. That year you're talking about, that would have been the 95 year. I remember a holding penalty against Lakeland late in the game, which cost us the game and the conference championship. I remember traveling with my teammates, going back then we go to places like Eureka, going back there again, Eureka and Quincy and McMurray, those long road trips, Jacksonville. Those were a lot of fun, and the places that we saw and places we went. And one of the highlights was going with my team to Germany for spring break
nice.
games. Yep.
Head coach Courtney Meyer at the time.
Gaberson.
Jeff Gabelson.
Right.
Okay, so Courtney Meyer, Jeff Gabelson, you had Andy Lubtak way before that. Now, of course, Greg Eder, the history of the football program. To wrap it all up, I guess you look at Concordia as a whole. Forget athletics now. Athletics aside, what's new, what's exciting, what's going on here on campus that maybe if you haven't been on campus in a while and maybe you haven't noticed?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many things going on at Concordia, more than what I can even keep pulse of. Visually, you see the building of our new business school in front campus. We see the finishing of our construction of our softball stadium. Academically, we continue to add new programs, and programs that are here to meet not just the needs of our 18 to 22-year-olds, but students of all ages in all different places. Growing online program. Just the reach that we have is really incredible.
Well, Steve Taylor, thanks a lot for your time. Continued success, the VP of Student Life. And when we come back here on the Falcon Focus podcast, we will talk men's volleyball as they prepare for their season in the new year, second year of the program with head coach Curtis Madson.
Okay. Thanks, man.
I just wanted to get good grades and to do well. But it also made me realize that I have a lot of career goals.
You're there to get a full college experience, not only participate in your sport, but participate in things outside of that, and it's all about growing as a person.
My coaches have helped me with figuring out who I really am. Their lives are dedicated for us to succeed.
Welcome back to the Falcon Focus podcast. Again, we're live with you most Tuesdays from 9:30 to 10. I say most because now it's the holiday season, and so we'll be back at it next week. In fact, the entire half hour is spent with the Director of Athletics, Dr. Rob Barnhill. But then thereafter, we'll take some time off and then be back with you on the 8th of January. By then, we're going to be thinking, fully about men's volleyball and being joined by head coach Curtis Madson, kind of to join us, preparing for year number 2. But before we get to men's volleyball, I have to ask you, just came back from Las Vegas. What was going out in Vegas?
Oh, volleyball's not the only thing that I do, so passion of mine is play slow pitch softball. I know that makes me old, but my team and I, we just went out to Vegas and played in Class E Worlds. We finished somewhere between top 40, top 50 out of 120 teams in Class E U trip, and so came back, and now it's ready to get to the grind. It's kind of was the last hurrah of the summer, in December. So.
How long have you been playing slow pitch?
I've been playing since I was 18, so about 16 years. I got to play with my dad. My dad was a big slow pitch guy, and it kind of just something that runs in our family. So it was cool to be able to have the experience. I'm actually on the team with my cousins, so I got to go play with my family. So it was a fun experience, but now it's back full board being in the gym because, in Wisconsin, we're not going to go out hitting balls for a little time. But
now with this Vegas trip, was this kind of a unique opportunity, or is this something you do annually?
It's the second year the team's gone, so they picked me up this year with the move back with the new program. So the discussions have been each year we've been progressing better, so might be a chance to go back again and try it again. So it was fun. It was a good time. So
now with men's volleyball, you helped create this program. How does one start a program from the ground up?
I'd like to say that there's a recipe, but really, time, effort, and just having the drive to do it. I've played for a lot of great coaches, worked for a lot of great coaches, and luckily or unluckily, either way you look at it, I've been involved with starting a lot of different programs, either as a player, as a club director, and worked with guys that have done it, and just leaned on my network and said, okay, guys, if this fell in your lap, how do you go about it? And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't trying at times, but I think it's been awesome to kind of just see it, and especially on the guys' side, the guys coming in to see the drive that they have to make something special and to leave a legacy at a school. It's a unique opportunity. I think that's part of what drew me to it is how often you get the opportunity to start something in 2017, 2018 at a university. So that part really kind of drives what we do, and it's special. They're a special group of guys. Obviously, we would have liked more wins last year, but we also realized long-term goals, long-term vision. That's not what last year was about. That's not where we're at. It's about creating a legacy and creating something to look back on as an alumni and go, man, yeah. I remember where it was, and hopefully it's in a better place than that.
And you look around the area, and it seems like there are more Division III programs that are starting to pop up, but is it a tough sell, especially the inaugural season, trying to say, hey, just envision versus actually being able to show something to a student?
Yes, but if it's a tough sell, I don't know if that's the guy for us. it's kind of neat when you're in the room and it clicks with those guys that have that drive and have that. And again, that legacy is important, and some guys get ramped up for it. Some guys don't want to just go to a program that's great; they want to make a program great. So yeah, those are some hurdles, but we, in the recruiting process, we're up front with it, and we own who we are, we embrace who we are, we love who we are, and we also like the direction we're heading, and we're looking for guys that want to come with us, not. They want to pave the way with us, not just jump on the bandwagon and ride. And so it's really fun and special to work with guys that share that same vision.
You mentioned last season, kind of a struggle. Expect first-year programs that you're going to have growing pains. Were you pleased, though, with the progress? Forget wins and losses. Were you pleased with the progress the team was making, though, from where they were at the beginning versus where they were in early April?
I feel it was one of my best coaching jobs, one of the best jobs I've had with a team that I've, been proud of a lot of teams. I've luckily done all right as a coach. But to see what those guys took on and where we were at the end of the year, I'm not a big motivational guy, but Jim Valvano, we just had the Jimmy V week. I love his speech, and the portion of his speech is about it's about where you came from, where you are, and where you want to be. And I that's kind of my driving force between my coaching and where we came from and where we ended up. It was amazing. Our guys worked hard. They grinded it out. Coaches around were kind of shocked and complimentary of our guys of where they were when they saw us early season to where we were at the end. And we knew we had work to go, but those guys put in work, and we're seeing that pay off already through our fall segment and different things of the growth with these guys, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, no question the team was competitive. Even wins and losses, very competitive, especially as the season progressed. So then what was the focus, when you started to figure out, this is our next recruiting class, our year number 2, where was the focus, where was the emphasis for you, where did you feel like, hey, we can get better ABC?
Everything's about competitive depth, and if you talk to any coach at this program or at the school or any school there, that's what you're looking for in your program, is just filling in competitive depth, so that every day is a fight in the gym. And so we went out and we just said we got to find those guys that want to be here and want to create that depth and want to create that pressure in our own gym, so that when we get out and compete with other teams, we're ready to roll. And I feel like this freshman class has provided that. They've provided a spark behind our guys that were here. They can get a drive, and we're seeing it pay off. And we're excited for January. We're excited for what lays ahead, because we feel like we can have a successful season. And we haven't even sat down to discuss what that is yet, but I just know we have the drive and we have the guys to do that and to continue pushing us forward into the 2020 season and beyond. So that's our goal when we go out, is just every year get ourselves a little better and keep making the gym better so that the product can be better.
And as a coach, you're already thinking beyond this season, correct? As far as recruiting and as far as what your future, the program looks like?
Yeah, I mean, we're rolling on it. I mean, got to give credit to Coach Barry. I was out playing softball in Vegas. He was in a cold gym in the suburbs of Chicago on Saturday. That piece is on. It's wearing those hats. You're always coaching, but you're always recruiting, and you're never not focusing on one, but you're always focusing on both. And so it is that interesting piece to college athletics where you're always thinking ahead, while telling your guys, don't ever think ahead, take in the moment. And so, we're really happy with what our class of 19 could look like. When we've been working hard there, we're rolling on the 2020 class, and just, again, trying to keep this thing rolling straight down the street.
Do you have a couple of guys, looking at the season ahead that you'd say, hey, watch out for him, this guy could be pretty special? Yeah,
I mean, and we'll remember Blake Schwant and Sam Rovick coming back from last year's team. I think, you throw them in the mix with some other weapons around them. I think look to have them to have a little more breakout year of what we think they're capable of. We got 2 freshmen at one point. We're on the Under Armour All-American watch list with Connor Muffet coming in at center and James Altoff at our right side. We got a lot of guys, but I mean, we got a season setter and a quality opposite and quality outsides and middles. I think we're right there. I'm excited for what we can do.
And of course, another challenging schedule. It all begins on January 12th at Carthage, home opener. It is January 18th, North Park, part of a triangular. you take a look at the schedule. It's I mean, you guys don't shy away from good competition.
No, and that's where we want to be. We want to compete at that national and regional level, and so we build a schedule to do that. And with the NAC being one of the top conferences in the country, we can't take it off a non-conference because we got to be ready to go because we want to get to that tournament. We got to be prepared to play legit level teams. I mean, last year three of our teams at some point were in the top 15 in the country. That's just where we live, and that's what we got to do.
Well, Coach, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll probably talk to you before the not-too-distant future. And, again, men's volleyball, before you know it, will get underway with January 12th being the opener for year number 2. That will do it for this week's edition of the Falcon Focus podcast. We thank all 3 of our guests. A triple header with Jake Jurss, men's basketball, of course, the Concordia VP of Student Life, and Steve Taylor, and Curtis Madson, the second-year men's volleyball head coach. Again, we'll have a show next week, the entire half hour dedicated to Director of Athletics, Dr. Rob Barnhill, and then we'll take 3 weeks off for the holidays and rejoin you on January 8th. Thanks to everybody with us here this week, and until next week, thanks for watching the Falcon Focus podcast.